Well, hey there. Hope you're doing well today. I'm just had published this new blog and thought it might be interesting to kind of talk through it. So I don't think I've gotten any questions yet. So maybe that it's a pretty short video today, which is fine. But I figured that might be a good way to use some time here today and kind of go over something I've just done. And I'm happy to also answer any other questions. It looks like there's one question about web dev in the chat, so I'm happy to answer anything like that too. So this can just be like a general AMA if that works best for everyone. But all right, well, I'm going to go ahead and switch stuff over to, switch stuff over to my other screen here. All right, well, I hope you're doing well today. Like I said, just leave any questions you might have in the chat. Here is the actual site, here, chrispennington.blog. If you want to check it out yourself, maybe I'll actually extract this out here and let's make this its own page. But you can see that this is kind of the default view. I still have a ton of stuff to do on this, but there's obviously, like, it's supposed to look kind of like inspired by like classic Mac, but obviously have more of a modern take on it. You've got a basic files menu. We can go and look at the general routes in the site, but the settings menu is kind of where it gets fun here. So you've got showing color. You can round the UI or not. You can decide to play audio or not. You can change the button color once you actually have a color. And then you can have a background that like kind of custom loads for you. And then you can hide certain sections, like let's say you don't care about tweetables or whatever, which is basically stuff I would tweet, but don't. So just like short thoughts that aren't really a full post. Recent videos I did, whatever, but this all saves in your local storage in your browser. And then, when you come back, it's all customized to whatever you want. And this sticks for you every time you come back to the site on the same browser. So like here's a post that I did yesterday after something messed up on the site. So you can also like save things. So here you can save this post and it saves over here and gives you a notification here and a notification up here as well. I'll show you how it looks on the round UI. It's just, as you might imagine, a circle here and there. And then these are the same basic things as the, let's see. Yeah, tweetables are the same as right here, or you can click view all to, it takes you to the same route. And built all this using Astro as well. So let's see, other things, like if you come into the blog page itself, right here, not only do you have right now, I just have all the blog posts listed. Probably eventually I'll implement some kind of infinite scroll. This route right here is SSR, so it's all statically or server-side rendered. And then I've got, for any blog posts that I have a category for, I've got all those listed right here. And if you click this, it will filter. And it does so looking at this query program, which again, I'm happy to show you. You can clearly filter in either of these two places. You can also search the blog, so like terminal or something. And this uses like a fuzzy searcher. And again, this is all SSR, so it'll actually grab this query here. And then you can also narrow down by a category filter as well. So you've got a category filter of macOS and your query of terminal or whatever it happens to be. You can clear that search here or here, filters up here as well. Down here below, you've got how many saved posts you have, and that updates dynamically too. Right now, this is all just using vanilla JavaScript. It's not that hard to do with vanilla JavaScript, and I don't know, I don't really want to load React for something small like this, but I don't know, I'm probably just a glutton for punishment not to use React, but I'm most familiar with vanilla JavaScript, and that's what I'm most comfortable with, so that's what I did. So anyway, you can see your save posts if you come in here. If you don't have any, then they're not here, obviously, but click into any of these like this, and then you can also just clear all your save posts. I don't have a toast message yet, but I'd like to add that. This section right here, this time is just relative to wherever you're at, so that's what time and everything it is for me right now. But so anyhow, that's kind of like a walkthrough of what the blog looks like. A couple thoughts about like philosophy of why I did all this stuff. Basically, this is all it used to be, is just recent posts. And then I figured I might as well pull in some videos so that if somebody comes to my site and wants to look at those, they're welcome to. But I'm always finding links or things that I want to get back to. So honestly, this around the web stuff and even the tweetable stuff is like kind of for me. But I figured I'd just throw it up here and anybody can look at it if they want to. But like I'll find stuff like, oh, I want to read that. So honestly, on my own like personal browser, I have saved all the ones I haven't looked at yet. And then as I read them or look through them, I will unsave them. And then now I know I read those things. So that's kind of what I do. It's like a read it later service for the entire internet to look at. So just stuff mostly tech related that I'm just like, oh, I want to get back and check that out again, or stuff that I'm like, I think I might be interested in that in the future. Same kind of thing with the tweetable stuff. So did you plan to bring some navigation on mobile? Bring table of contents even on mobile? Okay, you mean like for individual blog posts? I mean, it is responsive if that's what you're asking here, but, and I do have the same files menu, settings all work, stuff like that, but I'm guessing that you mean more individually, like on the post, so let me know if that's the case. All right, let's see. A couple questions here before, and then I can jump into code. What front-end projects to build to land a front-end job? I mean, I'm not sure I'm the best person to ask that to, because I've never worked full-time as a front-end dev. This is just something I do for fun on the side, but yeah, I mean, I think the bigger thing is that you own something, and if you really want a job, to go into a place saying like you're excited about what you built, you understand how it works, like that's more important than like what individual project it is. I don't think it really matters much. Obviously you want it to be related to whatever you want to get into. So if you want to get into a job that requires React, it probably should be a React, position or React project. But obviously the broader you can be as far as the skills you can show off, like if you can show off backend and front end, if you can show off your CSS skills, if you can have it interactive or have something special that's not just like straight from a YouTube video. Obviously those are, a good place to start, but I don't know that I've got a whole lot beyond that. So if you can give me more information on what you mean by some navigation on mobile, I'd be happy to answer that. So I'm guessing you mean by that, like inside the individual posts. Most of my posts are pretty small. Like, I mean, you can see right here, it's not that much. So there are a couple that are a little bit longer, like this one. And then I have a skip ahead section where you can like jump to sections. I mean, if you mean maybe like I could make this fixed position or something, but okay. A couple other questions about workflow. How do you find time to code? I saw you on Twitter. Data 3, 1-year-old in a full-time job. Yeah, I get it, Alex. I mean, some of it honestly is like I'm slightly obsessive about life, so I think that some of it is just I wake up pretty early, and I mean it's like 5:20 right here, and that's just kind of how I'm wired. So I'm up pretty early. My family gets up, later, and then I work from home, so I've got a little bit more flexibility. And then I mean the real killer is just my wife is super patient with me. So, but yeah, I mean honestly, most days it's like an hour here, an hour there. That's most of my days, and then in the evening, like I don't really ever watch TV. The only thing I ever watch is English Premier League soccer. And even then I watch one game a week, and while I watch, I code. So like every second I have, I just code in my spare time. So, and then I find ways to work it into my job. So one of the jobs I do is I write documentation, user-facing documentation for a software company. And so I found ways to basically say like, hey, could I write this extension that will make us faster, and then I can write JavaScript and get paid for it. So like I'll do that, and then occasionally I will pick up side jobs, and thankfully my work is flexible where I can work a little bit less on my main jobs and pick up a side job actually coding a site for somebody. So I don't know, I think a lot of it is I've been blessed with some of that flexibility. My wife is super patient, and I tend to be kind of obsessive, so that's pretty much all I do unless I'm working or spending time with my family. So yep, I don't know if that's a good answer, but I'm glad you enjoyed the walkthrough. Cards inspired by I think that was the site I did on my stream, maybe, if that's what you're asking. Yeah, I had already done this and actually coded this on the last couple of live streams before I saw a site. But yeah, I mean, they look very similar. But I think like Figma does this kind of drop shadow, and there's a couple other places that do that too. fixed navigation on top, or oh, you mean just like have this hang here? Yeah, I could definitely consider that. Okay, well, let's walk through the actual code here. So, I mean, this is how I set up these custom settings here, but all right, I had some problems with this SSR, and for Astro, like, you've now got at least 4 options that I know of. I'll probably do a video at some point about this, but you've got SSG, which is everything statically rendered by default on build. You've got SSR, where everything is server-side rendered, every single route. Then you've also got dynamic, which is what I'm doing here, which is mostly static with sprinkled in some SSR where you need it. Or you've got the other, which I think they call hybrid, or those might be switched, where you have everything SSR and you can statically render individual routes if you want. So you've got a lot of options with Astro. The main benefit is basically if the content will change, that would be a good time to statically render, or if you're relying on like the query param and you're generating the page for the user when they come. So that's basically, I've only used it on 2 routes. I had it on this home page. The only time it would really come into play is on the video cards, which I've disabled here in dev, just so I don't constantly hit my API route. But all right, so what I've got is, I won't bore you with all the CSS stuff, but I've got this main layout, and let's see. I do have like a H1 here that just says it's my blog and it's hidden. That's what this class does. And then I've got these individual sections, so blog cards, and a lot of these need to be renamed, and a lot of this needs to be refactored, but whenever I have time. Blog cards, web cards, tweetable cards, and then that's those 3 sections, which I must have turned one of those off, maybe? Post, yeah. I don't have videos anyhow, but I'll just shut that off. So those 3, and then these are in a kind of their own little section here that will snap next to each other if there's space. Let's see, anything else? These folders, I've just mapped through those, and that's these side folders right over here. And then the nice thing about Astro is you can scope a lot of the styles to the actual page itself. So here I've scoped a bunch of these to right here. A lot of this CSS needs to be refactored as well. Generally speaking, like, I like to write my own CSS, and I will have some utility classes. Like typically I have like common spacings of grid and flex that are just like display grid gap of whatever my XL spacing is. Because those are so common, I don't need to write that multiple times. And then I also have like place item center and a couple of basic things like that. And then SR only is another one of those, but mostly I just kind of write CSS per route, or I obviously have some global stuff too. Let's see, what else? Okay, so if I jump into this main layout, I've done a couple of things here. You can see I've grabbed just all the Astro pops and just spread them into the base head, so now that I have access to all those inside there. This wraps basically every route on the site. I've got my nav, I've got the main tag where the content is, and that's where I slot in my content. I've got the footer as well, and then here I've got another style tag. Let's see, this doesn't do a whole lot. I guess it just adds padding here to the main, but I do have my audio loading here as well on every route because it's connected to the settings. I had some problems with this with SSR loading from local storage, but when I added it directly in the script tag instead of importing it, which I'm sure I'm just doing something wrong, I just didn't have time to figure it out. It does all my loading for basically all the save settings. So that's what all this is. Eventually I will open source this. I just need to clean it up a lot before I do so, and then people are welcome to look through it at that point. Okay, a couple other things, and then if nobody has any questions, that'll be it today. So when will I add dark theme? That is on my list, and I'll show you my list here in a second of a bunch of other ideas, and I've got other things written other places too. But so not the block cards. Let's look in. There are other routes I've got here. So I'm using content collections here for all these. So each of these have their own schema. See, I got rid of this. Yeah. I think I got rid of this altogether here. So this blog schema basically defines what has to be in each blog. So if I come up here, Well, let's just grab a random one here. So this is what has to be in here. Some of these things are from my old blog, so they're still there, which is fine. But all right, so this blog schema says I have to have a title. It can only be 65 characters. Description is a little longer than it should be, but I just don't want to have to go refactor all my old posts. Got my categories that pull in here, and these are coming from right here. Again, this is defined by Zod, and then I first start with these as an array so that I can, so I can basically add them easily here, and then I can use them both in Zod, my Zod config, and I can also infer their type. So I'm using TypeScript as well in the site. Tags, same kind of thing. Publish date, it can be a string, and that's pretty much it. And it has to be validated by this transform. If I update it, I could do that too, and then I can have a draft if I want. So that's pretty much it, and same thing for each of these. So they have their own schema. They're slightly different, but not that different. So for each of these, they kind of have the way you have to work with them. And then if I come over here, let's see, where am I looking at? Inside the blog here, this is the index route, and this one's the one that's SSR. So here I'm using Fuse, which I've done a video on in the past, which basically allows you to do fuzzy match searching. And then eventually I want to have tags as the query params as well. I just didn't have time to work on it. So basically when you hit this route, the blog route right here, the first thing it does is fetch all my blog posts, and then it basically filters through these things. And there are faster ways to do some of this, so this is part of my need to refactor this. But I basically first of all see if, first of all see if there is a category to filter, which I grab on the route. So I grab it from the search params. So if there's a category, something like right here, then it looks this up, and it says if that is the case, then go ahead and first of all sort by category. So filter and figure out if there's anything that matches that category. If it does on the individual route, then go ahead and sort them first to last and spit it back out to me. Otherwise, just sort them and be done. And then at that point, what I do is I come in here to Fuse, which is the fuzzy match searching. And I tell it basically the things I want it to look at: the title, the description, the category, and the tags. And it looks at this. And then here, it basically finalizes it. And it filters by, if there is a query to filter by, which would be whatever the search is, then it searches. Otherwise, and this is something I need to work on typing here, but otherwise it looks inside the object that I get back from Fuse, and it basically just pushes out anything that matches. So that's, yeah, if there is no query, it pushes them all out. If there is a query, then it sends those to me as well. And either way, it returns to me the same basic thing. So I need to just type this when I get around to it. So this is what I get in the end. And it either has categories and, filters or like searches, or it doesn't. Let's see this. That's pretty basic. And then here I'm just looping through the posts and passing them all to the short cards component with the type that they are. This type of post changes stuff. So like I could do video or whatever, and they would all be this video icon. So these are defined, let's see here. So video, post, podcast, tool, book, tweet, other, and basically it just has a different icon for each of those is the idea. Let's see, anything else in here? I don't think so. The sidebar has a couple things. It has this cloud filter, and it's based on the type it is. So if it's blog, it'll be by blog posts. If I jump over to the web links, it will be by web posts over here. Search widget is only on the blog page and on the home page. I'm eventually going to add search for web stuff too, just so I can find stuff that I save for later. And then this is if I've saved any posts. So like right here, this will then show up. Number of posts right here gets updated. Yeah, so. Okay, let me see if I've got any other questions here. When will I add a dark theme? I think I already asked that, answered that. What is the estimated date for the theme switcher video you mentioned in the community post? Aha. It sounds like it's a couple weeks out, and it's actually not going to be on my channel, but I will post about it. Option to have multiple category filters. Yeah, that's another thing I'd like to do at some point. Right now, the way I have it is if you click one and then you click another one, it switches to that one. So I don't have that many posts yet, so that's probably one of those things I would wait till I had more posts, because, I mean, you can scan them all and literally one quick go. Right now, it wouldn't be that challenging to find what you needed. So, yeah, like I said, this one is statically rendered, this blog page. Same thing with the web. Links as well, because both of them use query params to generate the page for the user. In this case, category and search, and in the web version, just the categories. The other interesting thing might be this main layout. If I come inside to the base head, here I basically grab all these props. This was causing problems on server-side render pages, so I got rid of that. So there's a little blip when you first load the page, but so be it. I'll just get rid of that now while I think about it. So I've got some basic things, like it loops through all the RSS feeds. There are 3, so if you want to follow the blog, you can follow that. If you want to follow web links I post, you can do that, or tweetables. I don't know that I'll ever do an email newsletter. I'm sure it would be great if I wanted to like build a brand, but honestly, I don't really care. I just want to code and don't want to worry about stuff like that. So I kind of hate newsletters anyhow, so I figure if you want to see it and you don't know what an RSS feed is, then I'm probably not the right guy for you. So I don't know, maybe one of these days I'll add a newsletter, but kind of against my wishes. Here, this is just favicon, like pointing to all my different items. Robots is just if I don't want this route being shown, then I can show this right here. And this is just basic tracking for analytics. This SEO is probably the most interesting thing here. One of these days I'd like to do something on SEO. I'm no expert, but if you come inside here, it basically gets the title, the description, the image, and the post. And then if there is a post, that means it's a blog page or blog post. Otherwise, there is no post that gets passed on. And you can see that if I come into my slug here. Let's see, right here, I pass the actual post as the entry, the entire entry that gets passed. So that's the only time this ever comes here. So I first check to see if there is a post. If there is, then I have an image related to it. I don't have this generated automatically yet, but I'd like to. Otherwise, it just basically grabs, let's see, what does this grab this from? Whatever image has been passed in, I think. Yeah, because I don't pass in an image on the slug routes, and I do on the other ones. And if there is no image, then it just grabs my default one and passes that as a string. So anyhow, there's probably cleaner ways to do that, but that was the way I came up with quickly. And then you come down here and you got basic metadata stuff like title. And if it doesn't have a title, it uses the site title. Same thing with the description, same thing with keywords, which I don't even think is a thing anymore, but that's me. Open Graph stuff is fairly basic. It's just what kind of content it is, I guess, here. And then other than that, just adds all that stuff. If it is a post, then I also add this section here where I can have a published time, the author. If it's not a post, then just nothing gets put in. Same thing here. If it is a post and it has an updated time, then I pass that on as well. Twitter, that's pretty basic. This JSON LD is probably the other interesting thing. You either get this JSON LD here, which is structured data, essentially saying what it's about. In this case, this is about the actual blog post. And like if I go to JSON LD validator or something like that, I think it's called. So you can do it here, or you can do it on Google's. Let's just see live and make sure I did this right. Whatever we got here. So let's go chrispennington.blog. And let's wait a minute or two. Hopefully not that long. So no rich text items. So I need to look at that, figure out what's going on there. Let's go to one of these blog pages then. Let's see. Oh, right here. Oh, you know what? And I meant to look at the, I think I clicked on the wrong thing too. Get out of here. Okay. Let's do JSON validator again. And then if I don't see any other questions, I'll probably show you what I was planning on working on next and call that good. I don't know if anyone would be interested in this, so but this is basically what it's getting, this kind of structured data back. So 0 warnings, that's good. And so this tells Google more about whatever the site is or the page is. I could also do this. Let's see, new test here, get rid of this. And just on the page itself, on any page itself, it just basically says who I am and the URL, so not too much there. There's more I'm sure I could add, but that's all this does is it basically just says, hey, if there is a post, if there is data, or see, yeah, if there is a post, then go ahead and strip all this stuff out. So that's about all it does. I think I also spread in the image as well once it's finalized. Right here, yeah. So if there is a post, then I also spread in the image as the final image. Otherwise, I just call the function, get this JSON LD, and add it as HTML inside this fragment. So, okay, as far as other stuff I was going to work on, let's see. Here it is. So this is Height. It's an app I use for, well, I'm kind of a junkie for productivity apps, so I have multiple different types of productivity apps because I like to kind of play with them all. So this is just for coding stuff, is Height. I also use it for a couple other projects, for 2 other projects, and then I use OmniFocus for my main daily driver. And I use Jira at work, and I don't know, I use a couple other ones. I use Linear as well for client stuff with coding, but anyhow, so right now this is just a totally unordered list where I just added a bunch of stuff. So like I want you to be able to edit posts on GitHub, to tweet individual cards for tweetable cards. That makes sense since they're tweetable after all. To be able to save or delete save posts on individual blog pages. I'm going to add a uses page, so stuff I use. Let's see. I don't yet generate these images by default. I want to add a setting for motion as well if you don't want all that bouncy stuff. I think right now, I'm disabling it by default if you have it triggered off on your machine, but I want you to be able to tag, move it off. I want you to be able to filter by tag or even multiple tags. And so I have to add a tag cloud right now in the sidebar eventually. Skip domain button. I haven't added that yet. Thought about adding a little animation when you save something on the homepage on that folder. I want you to be able to share posts if you want to. Add image of head in console. Oh yeah, I wanted to add like an ASCII image in the console for devs that came. Figured, yeah, there might be some way to like favorite a post so many times if you visit it. I want you to be able to copy any code blocks, search for web posts. I don't have that yet. Search route for all items, like more of a general search. That would actually be at like /search. Keyboard navigation for files menu. I don't have that yet. You can just tab through it. Search for tweetables. I don't know that I'll ever do that. I'd like to add page transitions since I can now, and it's like it's not going to hurt anybody who doesn't have that in their browser. Search by word section. I don't know what that is. Add experimental assets for images. So this was working. For some reason it's not right now. So I think it's because Astro icon needs to be updated, but that may have happened. So the web filter currently clears differently than the blog one does, so I need to change that around. Add blog tags. I already have that up top. Related post section. I'm going to do that too, and let's just get rid of this. Same thing here. Okay, because I already have it up top. Let's see. Infinite scrolling. I mentioned that. Revert to original settings. So if you want to just go back and see what the originals were, you can do that. Add toast notifications. Add setting for showing time, date, or date and time in the top right-hand corner. Let's see. And I think I said I had dark mode, but I guess I don't. Add dark mode setting as well. I'm not exactly sure how that's going to work with all the other settings, but I guess you'd have to change it. So I can let you worry about your own accessibility at that point, I think. So I can't remember if there was another thing I was going to do. Animation when searching or filtering. I'm not sure I understand that. Why is this required? I'm not sure what that refers to either. So, okay, well, that's kind of the basics of where I'm at with the blog. I mean, there's a ton more I need to do. I also have to do like a major refactoring of a lot of the code. Like, it's just pretty sloppy, a lot of it. But I don't know. I was just trying to push it out to be done with it. So next week is pretty busy for me. So I'm probably not going to get a chance to do a whole lot. I've tried to record some videos ahead of time, so we'll see if I can get those done or not. Otherwise, I might have to take the week off. But animation for searching and filtering. I'm not sure exactly what you mean there. Like, as I'm searching, it's loading stuff, maybe, is what you mean. But, yeah. Well, I hope this was interesting to somebody. I didn't get a lot of questions, which is totally fine. But I wasn't sure if anybody would have interest. So I thought I would just kind of walk through it and make that the video today. But I will let you go. Why is JSON LD required? Okay. So JSON LD is that structured data, and my understanding is that Google uses that to understand what's on your page, along with other search engines. And so it can give a lot more detailed data. Like, for instance, if like I've done a client site before where they had events, and for each event page, you can actually give like fairly detailed answers. Let's come all the way over here. Let's look at JSON LD validator. So like the schema one here, the schema.org is actually, let's look at schemas. So like an event right here. So this is where you actually figure out how these things are worked. So you can have stuff like, let's see, did they give you an example? Yeah, right here. So right here. So you can say, hey, this is my event. This is the location. This is what I'm offering, like the actual thing. And you know, on Google, when you search for stuff and it shows you like a little sidebar, like card with like the website, all that kind of stuff. A lot of that stuff is being pulled from this JSON LD. So these images, all this kind of stuff is what they use to populate those more dynamic views in Google. That's my understanding. I might be totally off. That's what I was told. You could say like what the price of certain things are. Yeah, I mean, there's just tons of data you can give it. So that's the intention, is to basically provide more rich results to Google. So that's my understanding. Awesome. Yeah, I'm glad you enjoyed the blog. Yeah, I think Astro is awesome, and I'd like to do some more content on Astro. I'm planning on doing a more beginner, I don't know if it'll be a series or a single video of just like how to set up a very basic site with Astro, because the blog one I did had some complexity to it. So more like if you're brand new to HTML. I'd also have more complex things. Like eventually I want to do something where I show you how to do like a search with Fuse. There's so many options there. Like you could do either SSR or SSG, and that changes how you do stuff. So I'm just not totally sure how to work that way. Yeah, that's my understanding, is JSON LDs for giving more SEO rich results. But that was a lot cleaner of a way to say it than whatever I just did. So thanks. But all right, well, thanks for watching. I hope this was a help to someone. And I hope to do more work on this site and get stuff up to date. If you see anything that's broken, I'm sure there are things that are broken. Let me know. This one already was because somebody texted me yesterday or messaged me yesterday and said stuff was broken. So I fixed it, and then I said how I fixed it. So give me another blog post. I will happily take that. So all right, well, thanks so much. I will catch you in the next one, and thanks for watching. Happy coding.